you.
So if you are not familiar with Orsha Magyar, she is pretty incredible. So
oh my God.
She holds both a Master of Science and a Bachelor's of Science and is also a holistic certified holistic nutritional consultant. Sorry, I'm all frazzled from all that.
No, we're okay. We're okay.
She's also the founder and CEO of Nutrition. So with a background of neuroscience as a neuroscientist and a passion for nutrition, she's dedicated her career to going beyond the band-aid approach when it comes to brain and mental health. So through nutrition, Orsha has led a team of neuroscientists, nutritionists, and chefs, and they all work together to bring the science of the brain and the power of nutrition to the table. So if you can all help me welcome Orsha Magyar.
Thank you guys. And it came up.
And it's
Thank you for that beautiful intro. Thank you for the opportunity, Lynn. It's always a pleasure to be back here. My business took me away from BC for many, many years. For 13 years, I moved to Calgary to build my company, Nutrition, and I'm so proud to say that 2 weeks ago I moved back part-time. So after a hustle, I'm now half-time Salt Spring Island and half-time Calgary. And I'm a neuroscientist by trade. Like Lynn said, I know a lot about the brain, and I spent many, many years studying the brain at UBC, and I knew nothing about holistic nutrition and nothing about other ways besides medication to treat brain pathology. So I thought after over 10 years at UBC, I'm seeing sick people, I'm working with sick brains, and I'm studying it, and I'm like, is medication the answer for everyone? Probably not, but I didn't know what else there was. So I went back to school, I became a registered holistic nutritionist, and I brought the two together. So the company I founded in 2010 by myself, and now we're a team, is called Nutrition, and we work with different types of patients who have neurological disorders and mental health concerns and brain injuries like stroke or concussion. And I'm so proud to say we use evidence-based nutrition to help them sometimes as an adjunct or an add-on to their medication, and sometimes as a monotherapy. So it's the only kind of therapies and protocols we employ. So excited to be here tonight for you, and that my slides are working, because we're going to talk about the science behind the lack of sleep, and stress connection. And we're going to talk about some of the strategies my team and I use. How does that sound? Are you excited? Okay. Here are some of the things I hope that you learned from my talk tonight. And I have come on, move on up if you'd like to be closer. We've got about an hour together for my planned lecture, and then half an hour or more if you have questions for me. And I welcome any and all questions about your personal life, about anything you learned tonight. So there's never a stupid question. I welcome it all. I want to start tonight by telling you from a neuroscience perspective, what does stress mean? What does the stress response mean? Why do we even need sleep? Why is it important? How are sleep disorders and high stress connected? And then, is there a nutritional connection? Do you guys think there's a neuro-nutritional connection? Of course there is, right? People, and we'll talk about what are you more likely to be deficient in if you can't deal with stress, right? Like I was like, okay, like I probably don't have that many deficiencies right now because I didn't have a meltdown when the slide deck was just like not about to work. And I was like, there's like a bit of stress, but that's okay. If I had had a lot of these deficiencies that we're talking about tonight, I may have been more in a panic mode. And then maybe my sleep might be affected. I'm happy to say I'm probably going to sleep pretty darn well tonight, even though there was a little bit of a hiccup getting started. And then we're going to talk about a science-based 4-pillar approach that I use with my patients at Nutrition to help people deal with stress better and sleep better. So it'll be one product that'll help both things. Sound good? So better bang for your buck. But let's talk about stress and sleep. Anyone brave want to offer what is maybe one way that you have felt a connection between stress and sleep, either in a good way or bad way? Someone brave, what do you think?
Just constant racing thoughts. I wake up every night at 3 a.m.
Oh, you've got insomnia. You've got insomnia. Okay, yeah. And you know that insomnia can come in different flavors. Some people think insomnia is just like, I can't fall asleep. Many of my insomniac patients fall asleep just fine, and between 2 and 4, they're up. And then the racing thoughts come in. Yeah. And then you're more stressed the next day and maybe more irritable.
It's just my way of being.
Yeah, even though you seem like really chill right now. Nice. Anyone else? Connection between stress and sleep? Yeah.
I find that life events affect us a lot. Like just last night, I had a big thing happen.
Yeah.
I couldn't fall
Like a stressor happened in your personal life and sleep. Yeah. Oh. Okay, we're going to get you on some supplements tonight. We're going to like start some stuff so that doesn't happen again. What is stress? Nobody likes it, but did you know that from an evolutionary biology perspective, you actually need stress? Have you heard that before? That some stress is actually very, very good for you. We evolved as human beings and mammals to have a stress response. And you may have heard of the fight or flight response, right? So back in the day when we were cavemen, we had to make a very snap decision, often very quickly, when we encountered a predator, like a woolly mammoth or a saber-toothed tiger. Our nervous system had to tell us to either try and fight it or to get the heck out of there. That's called fight or flight. In our modern day society, personal stressors happen. We have bills to pay. We have kids' sporting events to get them to. We have sick pets. We have so many things that our innate stress response we evolved to run away from a dinosaur is now we've completely out-evolved it. The way that I like to tell people is that we have this very adaptive, beautiful stress response, and we've out-evolved it with our modern stressors of looking perfect. Like social media wants us to be a certain size or a certain face or a certain body type. The stress response is like, why are you stressing about being a size 2? But it still acts like you're in front of the woolly mammoth. So that it still launches the same response. And as a consequence, our bodies are coursing with adrenaline all the time. And our bloodstream is full of cortisol, right? Even though we're no longer having to outrun a predator, it's these modern day stresses like money, body image, personal stressors, and we're still high on these stress hormones. And as a consequence, what we see is type 2 diabetes and a heart disease epidemic directly linked to these high stress hormones. A healthy system should return in under 2 minutes from a stressor. And there's a really cool book that I like by Dr. Robert Sapolsky called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Have you heard of it? And he's an evolutionary biologist out at Rockefeller. Well, he works in Africa, basically on a safari land, but he studied at Rockefeller University in Manhattan, and he studies the stress response in prey animals. And his book talks about how an antelope, for example, if he survives a lion chase, in under 2 minutes, he's back to grazing. He's over it. We're not, even though we should be, but we're not. We're still, jacked up from a stressor. Maybe that happened to us the day before or the morning of. Now, talking about sleep, why do we need it? There are many, many reasons, but 2 things that I'm very passionate about in my work with patients is how poor sleep connects to inflammation. Have you heard that? And more so than even body inflammation, I'm very passionate about neuroinflammation. I work a lot with traumatic brain injury, and there is such a huge aspect of brain inflammation when the brain is injured. And one of the biggest consequences that my clients complain about is they can no longer sleep after a TBI, even though that's the one thing doctors will tell you need is sleep. Even better than nutrition, after a brain injury, you gotta sleep, but it's hard. The other thing that I'm very passionate about is looking at the connection between poor sleep and weight problems and obesity. And again, like the more that you understand, and probably you understand even without education in this area, the key to solving obesity and the epidemic of weight issues is not calorie counting and deprivation. There's something deeper going on. And in sleep, you go through different phases. And in the deepest, it's called deep sleep stage 4, is where metabolic function and weight maintenance happens. So if you can get yourself, and we'll talk about some cool supplements that can help you get into those deepest stages of sleep tonight, if you can get there, you can regulate your weight naturally instead of through depriving often and counting calories. Here are some other benefits of sleep that I work with, including more attention, better focus, better memory, lower risk of hypertension, heart disease, maintaining a healthy weight, reducing your stress, so connection there, and improved immunity. Huge benefits and connections to sleep there. And now the vicious cycle of sleep, when you look at Canadians and you look at some statistics, these are from 2021, a lot of this relates back to stress in 41% of people, adults, and 36% who experience anxiety. And these are the top factors that make them stay up at night and not be able to sleep. They're too anxious and they're too stressed. Adults 18 and over who report sleeping less than 8 hours a night have much higher stress levels. So when you're looking at a magic number, people often ask me, like, how much sleep do I need? If you're looking for an answer for a magic number, I would say 7 to 8. But the science goes well below that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in tonight's lecture. But as a start to our conversation together, we say you need about 8 hours of sleep. Now, anyone brave want to call out maybe a nutrition connection that you've heard to stress or to poor sleep? What do you think? What do you think you're deficient in? What are we going to be talking about tonight? We're going to talk about 4 things tonight. Sugar. Yeah, you want to keep it. Yeah, if you're struggling with sleep, we want to move our dinner earlier. Yeah, and we want to make it, we'll talk about the first pillar, I'll give it away. We're going to up our protein and reduce our sugar. That's going to help. Any other nutritional connection that you've heard? If you eat too late at night, you notice that you have a hard time falling asleep or you wake up in the night? Both. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Thank God I don't struggle with sleep. Thank goodness. There is a connection. When you look at the neuronutritional literature and you look at the science on people who can't deal with any stressors, who overreact, who freak out, and then also don't sleep well, we see some key deficiencies emerging. We see some deficiencies in protein. We're going to talk about that tonight. We see deficiencies in vitamins and minerals. We see deficiencies and problems with their digestion. I work a lot with the connection between, people are nodding, the gut microbiome and the brain. So I help a lot of my clients fix their, what we call the gut-brain axis. So we're going to talk about that. And last but not least, an emerging area of research that I love, we're going to talk about brain detox, and specifically a special system that was discovered not long ago in 2010 called the glymphatic system. Who's heard of that word before? Some of you have? Nice.
Is that like the brain wash?
The brain detox. It's super cool and it's science-based, so it's legit. We're going to talk about, so far the research is limited. It was only discovered as a system in 2010. So far there's one supplement that's been shown to help it. So we're going to talk about that, and they carry it here. It's good. So let's start with protein. How does protein help you deal better with stress and not freak out and overreact? And how does protein help you sleep better? There's a few connections, and the biggest one is protein's going to help balance out what we call that blood sugar roller coaster. The medical terminology for that is called dysglycemia, imbalanced blood sugar. But I like to teach it as the blood sugar roller coaster. And when we have a blood sugar roller coaster, we're going to be high on cortisol. And how are we ever going to react calmly when a stressful situation happens? When our bloodstream is pumping full of cortisol. It's not. And protein is a really beautiful and effective foundational way to help balance it. Another connection to protein is one of my favorite neurotransmitters made in both the gut and the brain. You've all heard of it, called serotonin, right? And the connection to serotonin and protein is through amino acids. Did you know that when you eat a protein food or take a protein powder, it breaks down into amino acids, right? And then amino acids build back up in the gut and the brain into neurotransmitters. Some of my favorite amino acids include things like tryptophan. Tryptophan builds serotonin, helps your mood, turkey, and other things too. Yeah. And then did you know serotonin converts into melatonin? So on a neurotransmitter level, to me, with my training, that's how sleep and stress are connected. Serotonin and melatonin are like this. Serotonin makes melatonin. And research is currently exploring, are there natural ways? Because people get put on SSRIs, people get put on, antidepressants and sleeping medications to help with their stress and help with their sleep. But long term, well, they don't work for a lot of people. But also long term, I don't really like them. So I'm always trying to figure out a natural solution for clients. And I really like using protein as the building block of neurotransmitters. And the really good thing is a lot of the people that I work with are very sick and do take a lot of medications, and that's okay. We want to work with people's medications in a way that anything we recommend or anything you take from a health food store doesn't interact with your medications, right? And protein and a protein powder won't interact because it's food. It's a whole food. So this is the first product that I wanted to introduce you to from a beautiful company that is 100% BC grown, so Canada, BC in fact, organic, whole food-based protein powder. This is not like an isolate or just a fraction of a protein. This brings you 20 grams, so a decent sized protein serving, and vegan plant-based protein. And there's a vanilla and a chocolate. It tastes delicious. And this is something that you can take and it will break into those amino acids that build back up into neurotransmitters like serotonin to help you deal with stress and be a little bit more chill, and also help you sleep better. This will take a few weeks to start building up and helping you, but you will notice a difference. So I think that this is a really, really great product. So just a little slide here on this company. I love to work with them, and for a number of reasons. And one of them is, like, I'm not vegan myself, but I always like to say that I'm more plant forward. I want to eat more plants and as many plants as possible. I think it's a good thing. And they do a lot with different organic herbs and superfoods and mushrooms. So it's like a really cool cutting edge company, and they have a really nice team of experts behind them building their products. Pillar number 2. All right, so protein is the first takeaway from tonight's talk. The second takeaway is going to be micronutrients. When I say micronutrients, I'm talking about vitamins and minerals. That's how we define a micronutrient. And more specifically, we're going to talk about multivitamins and a whole food multivitamin. And we're going to learn why I think that might be better than other multivitamins. But first, just be honest, no right or wrong answers necessarily. Do you think a multivitamin can actually help you stress, cope better, or sleep better, or not? Because it's controversial. A lot of scientists, my colleagues in science and medicine, say a multivitamin's a joke. So I would love what you've heard in the media or what you think about a multi.
I haven't heard anything, but if it was a soul pill,
Yeah.
there would be a percentage of people that would believe it worked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like a placebo.
Yeah.
I always say placebo is a hell of a drug. Placebo effect can influence up to 40% of the efficacy of a drug. And that placebo effect goes up if you trust the person giving you the advice. So if it's coming from like a credible person you trust, it's going to work even better. So it's mind-body medicine. It's wild, right? Yeah. So here's what the science is saying. Check out this, and I'm not going to go through it in detail, but I thought, wow, I really want to show you guys and put together a graph like this, showing how many different vitamins and minerals are needed to convert the food you eat, like meat or eggs or plant-based protein, into serotonin and melatonin. It needs pretty much every vitamin and mineral. So that starts to build a case for why, many of us are going to need some support from a good quality multivitamin. And I believe that. I am in the camp. I do believe that for many people, a good quality multi is essential. SAMI. SAMI is a nutrient. You can take it as a supplement, or the body can make it. And it helps to produce melatonin. Yeah. But I do want to say, since you pointed it out, SAMI as a supplement is very, very effective, but it interacts with a lot of medications. So for example, if you are already taking a medication for your depression, you can't also take SAMI because it builds too much serotonin and too much melatonin in the brain. And you might think that's a good thing. I'm here tonight to learn about sleep and stress. It's not a good thing. It can actually be a fatal interaction called serotonin syndrome. And the other thing to point out with SAMI, you must never take SAMI if you do have a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. Other than that, SAMI's cool as a natural antidepressant. Yeah. Just always these natural things, they're great. And then sometimes, for some people, they're not. You can ask.
What triggers the serotonin to want to become melatonin?
It naturally, a percentage of it naturally will convert.
But is there a certain time of day? Because obviously we don't want melatonin at night.
Yes, we do, but it's already converting at least 4 or 5 hours before you actually start to feel like the conversion's happening, but you don't automatically fall asleep unless you have narcolepsy and a sleep disorder.
Part of our circadian rhythm.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And that's, again, through this connection, why we see people who have depression, low mood, serotonin issues, gut issues, serotonin issues here as well. They're also not sleeping. From my education, this is what I think about in the brain, and then with nutrition and how I bring it together. Another way that I bring it together is how all these different vitamins and minerals are needed to activate all those enzymes to convert our important omega-3 fatty acids. Have you heard that up to 65% of people really have a hard time converting plant-based omega-3, ALA, into EPA and DHA, which is the really effective omega-3 to fight inflammation? And people ask me, my clients are like, oh my gosh, like I'm eating chia and flax and hemp and I'm doing all these things. You're telling me I'm probably not converting it to EPA and DHA? I'm saying yes, and they're like, why? And because I believe a lot of my clients, for many reasons, are deficient in those important vitamins and minerals. We call them cofactors. So I'm a fan, for probably at least half of you in this room, of a multivitamin. But then I get this question a lot, like, okay, why shouldn't I just buy a $5 one from a big box store? Why do you recommend an expensive whole food-based one? And does anyone know why we would recommend a whole food-based supplement versus a cheapy synthetic? Like, you get what you pay for often, so the quality may or may not be there.
Bioavailability.
That's right. Nice big word. Bioavailability, yes. Absorption. Bioavailability. Okay, yeah. Insomnia has helped you become really learned. You're like educated. I mean, you put it to good use. Listen, nature has it figured out. And I can tell you this because the education that I come from as a researcher and as a scientist, we did not do this. And so I understand why a lot of my colleagues and even my husband, who stayed in psychiatry, who stayed in that academic field, says to me often, like, I don't think supplements work. And I'm like, here's the problem that I've seen coming from that world and entering this world. As a scientist, we're trained to isolate one nutrient or one neurotransmitter and study the heck out of it. I spent my entire master's degree, 3 years, I took 3 years for my master's, only studying dopamine. Cool. I didn't learn anything about every other neurotransmitter system dopamine works with, right? Because that was my line of research. And we see the same in nutrition research. Scientists want to isolate one ingredient from a food and then say it doesn't work. Well, nature knows it works synergistically when it's with other nutrients in a whole food. Yes, it does work. So this is a really cool study that I wanted to show you guys. It's 2000, so it's an old one, but bear with me, it's a good one. And the authors were able to get into Nature, which is one of the top publications, biomedical research journals in the world. And it was a very simple study, but a strong study. They looked at apples. An apple a day, right? Keeps the doctor away. And they looked at apples with the skin on it, apples that they peeled, or they pulled out a few drops of vitamin C from the apple, and they looked at its ability to fight free radicals. And look what they found on the graph here. They found the straight up vitamin C from that apple wasn't actually that good. Then they looked at apple without skin. That's the middle, the light green bar. It was all right. And then they looked at apple with the skin on it, and it was amazing at fighting free radical damage in the body and brain. Hello. So 2000, old study, but I love it to this day. Because we know what a dramatic difference it makes to have that beautiful synergism of nutrients in a food. In fact, the researchers found that 100 mgs of apple with the skin on it, it only contained about 5.7 milligrams of vitamin C. It was equivalent, just by having that skin on a full slice of apple, equivalent to 1,500 mgs of vitamin C. Even though it was only 5.7 mgs, equivalent to 1,500. So I love this paper. So I like to explain this to people about why whole foods are important, and whole food supplements are important. They are a premium quality supplement. They will work better, I believe. So I just quickly want to introduce you to another company that I love called Megafood, and they bring whole food-based supplements to the market. And they do they have a portfolio of multivitamins, and I want to just quickly introduce you to them here. So they've got one for kiddos, one for women, one for men, one for women over 40, and one for men over 40. And that's another thing, again, coming into the holistic world from being a scientist. There's like, a lot of things that I feel like I have opinions on. And one of my pet peeves as a researcher when I was in science for 10 plus years was I always wondered why science was always done on men. Like, we represent over half the population. Why is all the research? And again, I was in biomedical research, so at that time I was looking at research on pills and meds, but I was like, why is it all done on meds? And then women take these meds that have been studied in men and we get weird side effects, or it doesn't work for us. So it works too well. Like it's not working because the science is done on men. And then it's even more insulting. You look at preclinical research. I did a lot of that too in rodents, preclinical. Why is it males? Where's the females? It's completely different biology. So coming into the holistic health field, I was so happy to find some brands like Mega Food that actually recognize us as different. And even with a multi, they put in different amounts of vitamins and minerals and different herbs suited to our bodies and also our bodies at different ages and stages of life. For example, in the basic women's, we'll see a lot of iron. In women's over 40, we see less iron as our cycles start to become more irregular. In the men's, we start to see different amounts of things like zinc for reproductive health and prostate health. We also see different herbs. For basic women, we see more adaptogenic herbs that help us fight back against stress. For women 40 plus, we start to see more immune and anti-inflammatory herbs. So it starts to change a little bit. And then we have 2 multis, men and women, for those age 55 plus. So as we start to age, and I love these 2 formulas. They were formulated for Mega Food by an integrative doctor, and she did a really great job. So she did a number of things with these 2 in particular. First of all, the serving size here is not 1 a day, it's 2. So you do have to take 2 at this age, but it includes a minimum of 70% of all the recommended daily allowances for all vitamins and minerals, right? As we get older, we might not be eating as much. We might not be eating as well. A lot of things start to happen, so we need more nutrition. And also in these 2, the B12 and the folate are methylated because those biochemical pathways start to be affected more as we age. And there is also choline. Choline is a really important B, unofficial, not recognized, but part of the B vitamin family. And choline is important for babies and important for elderly individuals to help slow cognitive decline. So choline is brilliant if you can get it, and it's in these multis as well. And then last but not least, I like that this doctor, when she made these formulas, she chose to take all the herbs out. And again, for me, because I work with a lot of people who are on a lot of meds, it gets really tricky to try and figure out what herbs interact with what meds. So this formula is herb-free, and I love it. So it's safe to put someone on who may be taking more medications. And then, so just a little summary slide here from this company. They make their supplements with organic, beautiful, whole foods that they integrate with vitamins and minerals. So the way that I like to teach it is that they make like a superhero version of an orange or a broccoli, because they worked for 10 years with the University of New Hampshire to actually integrate a vitamin or mineral with the food. So it's like superpower whole food, very easy to digest. For that reason, you can take it on an empty stomach and it won't cause upset because it's whole food. You're eating a real food. It's just higher in vitamins and minerals. Is there a certain time of day that you should take your Mega Food Multi? And the answer is so nice and simple, because it's basically like a real whole food. Any time of day that's best for your schedule, which is nice. Yeah. And then also too, like the 1 a day is just any time. And then the 2 a day, if you're taking the 55 plus, again, any time of day. You can split it up, but you don't need to. It's like so gentle and so effective. And then one thing I just wanted to draw your attention to, because I love, and to my knowledge, Mega Food is the only multivitamin that is certified, third-party certified, glyphosate-free. Do you guys know what glyphosate is? It's nasty. It's like Roundup. Glyphosate is one of the most common herbicides used in North America. So on your fruits, on your veggies. And also, glyphosate is a well-known desiccant. So when they're shipping foods to prevent them from getting nasty, to dry it out as a desiccant, guess what they're spraying it with? Glyphosate. It's nasty. Glyphosate affects the brain. Glyphosate affects the soil's microbiome and affects our microbiome. So I hate it. And Mega Food is certified third-party glyphosate-free. So you can have peace of mind with that too. Number 3. Okay, show of hands. How many of you guys know, without a doubt, that there's connection between your brain and your gut? Is anyone like, I'm not sure? Gut and brain connection? Yes? Yeah, definitely. Gut and brain are connected. And so a third pillar for me, based on the evidence, would be to bring in some enzyme support. But what should we choose? There are so many options out there to help digestion. What is the research actually telling us? Because I want you to think about if you're struggling with a hard time coping with basic stressors and you're struggling with sleep, I want you to think about those symptoms as maybe just the tip of the iceberg. I hate to tell you, there's some other stuff going on. More, yeah. No, I don't want to make more stress, so I'm glad you're here because we're going to figure it out tonight. And also, after this talk, I'm more than happy to go around and help you make some informed decisions about supplements, because usually when I see patients that are stressed, that aren't sleeping, then we start talking and there's a lot more going on in the digestive system and other systems of the body sometimes too. And for tonight's conversation, I wanted to bring in something that I'm really interested in, and those are food-derived exorphins. Have you guys heard of exorphins? Okay, who's heard of endorphins? Everyone, runner's high, baby. Yeah, endorphins are your body's natural feel-good, pain-relieving chemicals, right? Like when you have an awesome run and you hit that like endorphin high, or an awesome spin class, you get like spin brain. I love it. But sometimes it doesn't feel good. And sometimes some of us suffer from effects of what we call exorphins. So endorphin is an endogenous morphine-like chemical. It makes you feel good. An exorphin is an exogenous, like something coming from your environment or from your food. And it can make you feel good, but usually in my experience, my clients feel all of a sudden, they say like they ate something and they felt like they'd been drugged. And it gives them more stress and sleeplessness, because they're like, was there drugs? Like, was my food at a restaurant or what I just made, was it contaminated? So it's not good. And I tell them, calm down. Your food was not drugged, but you got exorphined. You reacted to a peptide inside that food that your body treated as if you'd taken a hit of morphine or heroin or another opiate. So you can imagine that would be so scary if you didn't expect to take those downer drugs and you just ate food. The most common exorphins are found in gluten, dairy, and soy. And the biggest connections and symptoms that I see in clients who react to these morphine-like compounds in foods that make them feel really off and high are they can no longer deal with stress. They're always irritable. They have depression. They have anxiety. I see it in my kids and I see it in my adult clients as well along the autism spectrum and those with ADHD. I see it in sleep disorders as well. And one of the first symptoms that you will have if you've been exorphined, you're going to eat something and you're going to be overwhelmed with like aggressive brain fog. Have you ever had that happen? You've eaten something and just like this brain fog hits you. That means you've been exorphined. And if that happens after the brain fog, over time, the more you keep eating these foods, you start to see these problems. So what can you do? Just to reiterate, the most common exorphins map onto the most common food sensitivities in our culture, which are gluten, dairy, and soy. So then I bring in another company that I love working with, and they're from the States, so sorry about that, but they are the #1 selling digestive enzyme in the entire United States. So I think that is pretty cool, and they're here in Canada now, and I love working with them. And just to remind you, I work with clients who have brain disorders and brain injury, and I'm giving them these super strong digestive enzymes to help them with their brain symptoms. So this is legitimate and credible. And one of the reasons I love this brand of digestive enzyme is they use something called a TheraBlend that I'm not seeing in other competitors. And what TheraBlend is instead of just one digestive enzyme, let's say one lipase to break down fat, they'll use a family of 3 to 5 to make sure that it doesn't die and it makes it all the way through your digestive system. That needs different pHs. So different acid, different alkaline. These enzymes will work throughout because it's a family of them, not just one. So this is stronger than most other digestive enzymes you'll see on the market. And that's why it made them the #1 seller digestive enzyme in all of the States. So if you are struggling with a reaction to gluten, as many of my clients do, I like this product a lot. Sorry about that. Now, okay, does anyone want to take an answer at this? If you have celiac disease, do you think, I don't know why it's changing on its own, but that's fun. It's I'm halfway through, can you just tech gods, just bear with me for another 20 minutes. I'm not sure what's going on there. But do you think that if you have celiac disease, just look at me for a second, it's changing. If you have celiac, do you think you can get away with this product or absolutely not? Absolutely not. If you have celiac disease, that is an autoimmune disorder where your intestinal tract is affected. You cannot take a digestive enzyme to treat that. But if you have celiac disease and you're worried about getting glutened and going to a restaurant and experiencing cross-contamination, you should have this in your purse, because this can reduce the effect of gluten on your celiac. For example, if you get accidental gluten exposure and you get sick with your celiac disease for 3 days after, taking this Glutenese immediately will take down your reaction to only 1 day of being sick. So you can get back to life and work sooner instead of being out for 3 days. This product is also very good for not just cross-contamination with gluten, but for clients who have gluten sensitivity. It's called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. It's not an autoimmune disorder, but it is nonetheless an intestinal reaction to gluten. This product's really good. If you're wondering what about this is so good, there's a really strong gluten-specific enzyme in here called DPP4. Stop laughing back there. It's like fun times. Like it's taking over. Like the laptop gods want me to keep going. I'm talking too much. So this is Glutenese, and I really love it. And also, to my knowledge, DPP4 is the only non-GMO gluten enzyme available. So if that's important to you, DPP4 is the way to go. Okay, get off this darn slide. And hopefully this one stays. Now, what if you're struggling with dairy? Do you guys know the difference between lactose and casein? There's different flavors of dairy issues. What do you think? I feel like you're learned. You've done some research in the night.
I don't really have any dairy issues that I
Okay,
know of, so-
okay, good. Anyone struggle with dairy who's willing to share? Okay. There's 2 flavors of dairy issues. One is lactose intolerance, and you've all heard of that. Lactose intolerance is when your body doesn't make enough of the enzyme called lactase to break down lactose, which is the sugar in milk. Casein is a protein inside milk and inside dairy, and casein is broken down by another enzyme called protease. So if you struggle with dairy, you may be dealing with lactose intolerance or casein sensitivity. So you want to figure out which one it is, or if you don't know which one it is, then you need to take a product that hits both, because you don't know what part of dairy is giving you an issue. So on the left, if you're this guy, he's happy because I just put him on a product. So he's like, thanks, Orsha, I'm happy and I can enjoy an ice cream once in a while with my kid. So if this is you and you've got a mild digestive issue, a little bit of bloating, a little bit of loose stool or constipation, nothing too major, but you only eat dairy like once a week, once a month, with your kid, you want to enjoy something with them, then this product is really nice, called Dairy Assist. Then I have a lot of clients like this, and they know that dairy is their enemy, but they tell me, like, they're paying to come see me and they're like, put me on something because I refuse to give it up. Because usually they're reacting to the exorphins in dairy and it makes them feel so high and so good for a short term that even though it's making them sick after with severe gastrointestinal upset, a lot of my clients refuse to give up dairy. So they're like, give me something because I'm actually not stopping dairy. I'm like, guys, okay, this is the strongest dairy enzyme called lacto. So choose your flavor, which one you are, and there's one for both dairy. Now, what if you know that food is giving you a problem, but you don't know what it is? Like, you're like, I actually don't know, Orsha. Like, is it dairy? Is it FODMAPs? Like, is it a gluten intolerance? What is it? If you don't know, but you need an immediate Band-Aid until you figure out what food you need to eliminate, I put a lot of clients on this one because it immediately helps with all different types of foods. So this is a great one. And then you do want to figure out what you're reacting to, but this will help you with your symptoms from all different types of foods. So this one has tons of different enzymes in it. So then Enzymedica, really beautiful company. Even though they are American, they're very clean, they're very sustainable. And one of the cool things about them is they do a lot for the community. In fact, I do want to share, and it's super cool, this product that I just taught you is good for every type of food intolerance. They actually developed it for kids with autism. So this one they developed for the brain health and the neuro community. So I love that personally. And today I was doing a training earlier at Whole Foods, and one of the staff asked me, and I hadn't even thought of that. She said, is that why it's called spectrum? Like autism spectrum? I was like, oh, know? I'm going to ask the company. I believe it is. I've been just interpreting the name digest spectrum as a spectrum of foods. And then this woman's like, I think it's autism spectrum. I'm like, I think it might be. So I'm going to ask the company how that name came about. But yeah, it was developed for the autism spectrum community. And last but not least, our fourth pillar is quite possibly my fave because it's very new science that now is trickling down into the mainstream, and that is the glymphatic system. So like you said, the brain flushing or the brain detoxification system. So the system was discovered by a neuroscientist in Denmark by the name of Dr. Maiken Nedergaard. And she was studying how cerebrospinal fluid, have you heard of that? Or if you've been unfortunate enough to have a concussion, you'll see it leak. You don't want that, but it does. So CSF is this beautiful fluid that is made in the ventricles or empty spaces throughout the brain. There's 5 of them. And then it flushes the brain. And it carries different things in it. Or if you have a concussion, it comes out your nose, which I have had happen. Don't recommend. And so she was studying, she was doing preclinical research. So she's looking at it in rodents who were asleep. Anesthetized. And she was watching the CSF flow through the brain. And prior to 2010, myself, who was in neuroscience, and this woman halfway across the world, we thought that the way that CSF was pumped through the brain or moved through the brain was in a very passive, gentle, kind of drip motion driven by the blood-brain barrier. So that's what she was expecting to see in these rodents. It's just like this kind of calm, boring CSF flushing of the brain. And she saw this like aggressive pumping action. She's like, what is going on? And she called in her grad students, and they spent the next couple years figuring out why is cerebrospinal fluid in these darn rodents who are asleep being pumped aggressively through their brain. And it led to them discovering what she called the glymphatic system. You may recognize the word lymphatic system, yeah? It's how the body cleanses toxins. Unfortunately, the lymphatic system stops where the spinal cord touches the brain. The lymphatic system don't go in the brain. So before 2010, we thought the brain wasn't able to clear toxins. And Dr. Nedergaard and her team were like, yes, it can. The glymphatic system touches the lymphatic system. It clears toxins from the brain and flushes it and then gives it to the lymphatic system. Then it's the job of the lymphatic system to get rid of it. So it's this beautiful system that gives me so much hope and gives so much hope to brain disordered patients or really anyone who just wants to age gracefully or sleep better or stress less, that our brain is actually capable of cleaning and flushing itself. We never knew that before 2010. So this is great, but what's the catch? Because everything really good, there's like a catch. Guess what? This beautiful brain detox system only gets turned on in deep sleep. Sorry. So in light sleep.
What turns, because I never get stage 4.
I'm sorry.
But my brain is good, because I was just talking to a neurologist.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So your brain's good.
Yeah,
But you might not be turning on the brain detox. So your brain's good, but you're not turning on brain detox unless you're in slow wave stage, stage 4 sleep. Yeah.
So your lymphatic system is not a pump like our arteries. We have to move.
That's right. It's passive. That's right.
So how does that get triggered?
Amazing question. So a lot of science has looked at what is pumping this, flushing CSF through the brain. A lot of it is set by heart rate and breath rate. So that, again, for me now being holistic, I'm like, that's so cool because now new science is showing that even like calming your breath rate can improve lymphatic clearance and brain detox in the night. Like something so holistic like breathing is what drives it. So what the pumping action is that Dr. Nedergaard saw when she was looking at these sleeping rodents was arterial arteries in the brain pumping. That's the glymphatic system. Yeah, it's so cool. Yep. But it turns on during slow wave, deep sleep. So is there anything you can eat? Is there anything you can take from this store that has been studied to increase the glymphatic system? What do you think before I move to the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, what? Well, what in this store? Magnesium? Mm-mm. Well, hasn't been studied yet. So far, there's one nutrient we know. Mm-mm. If anyone gets it, I will come give you a hug. What is it? What is it? You want to know? Omega-3s. Yeah. Omega-3s. But not all of them. Only EPA and DHA have been shown to directly increase glymphatic system clearance. This has huge implications. For example, for people who are at risk of or have started exhibiting signs of Alzheimer's or dementia, Parkinson's disease. these disorders have significant deficits in lymphatic system activity. What we see in preclinical rodent models of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and what we see in postmortem autopsies of brains of people who passed from Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's is this nasty protein called beta amyloid deposited in the brain in the exact same path that the lymphatic systems should be flushing CSF through the brain. It's not flushing out this toxin. With Parkinson's, it's another nasty protein. It's not beta amyloid. That's in an Alzheimer's brain. It's another one called alpha-synuclein. And we see similar things in the studies in animal models of Parkinson's, in humans who have postmortem, whose autopsies of their brains show this alpha-synuclein protein is like laid down in the brain for whatever reason. I don't know why. In people who have these brain disorders, I don't know why yet. Scientists hasn't shown yet. Why are these proteins not being cleaned? Their lymphatic system's not working. And we do know the lymphatic system starts to slow with age, and it comes to a halt after a TBI. After a brain injury, it stops within hours. So when these clients come to me and I'm like working my butt off to try and get their lymphatic system back online and get them back into deep sleep, because I know the implications.
What's the definition of deep sleep? How do you determine that?
Sure, I would love to show you, and I can even act it out. If you're interested, you're like, I don't know. Okay, so there are 4 stages of sleep plus REM. Okay, stage 1, the theatrical portion of the night. Okay, stage 1, you're starting to fall asleep. Your muscles are starting to relax, but you have that awful, embarrassing feeling, if you're on a plane, for example, where you feel like you're falling and you jolt awake. That's stage 1. That's light sleep. Stage 1, joking aside, stage 1 sleep is what a lot of people, for example, who have untreated sleep apnea hover around in. They can't get deeper than stage 1 if you're sleep apnea, if you don't have a CPAP machine. So I always tell people, please get your sleep apnea treated. It has huge risk as you age of neurological and neurodegenerative disorders. People who have untreated sleep apnea and are stuck in stage 1 have 85% higher risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. No joke. Then you move into stage 2. It's still light. But stage 2 now, your muscles do start to calm down. You're no longer feeling like you're falling and jolting awake. Your heart rate slows, your breath rate slows. You're entering a deeper but still light stage of sleep. Stage 3 is defined as deep sleep. The lymphatic system turns on. The CSF starts flushing the toxic proteins through the brain to meet the lymphatic system to get them the heck out of the body.
Is that where you snore?
Stage 3, you start to snore. Stage 4, you snore. Stage 4 is the deepest sleep. That's where anti-inflammatory action happens. That's where immunity happens. Have you noticed, I don't know about you, but many of my clients who don't sleep well get sick way more often. And when they get sick, it lasts longer because they can't get into the deep part of sleep that fights your immunity and builds your immune cells. So that's stage 4. And as you know, REM, rapid eye movement, happens. So you go through stage 1, 2, 3, 4 REM, stage 1, 2, 3, 4 REM. So when you're up at 3, that disrupts what you should be cycling through the night of 1, 2, 3, 4 REM, 1, 2, 3, 4 REM. You get like jolted up. So I don't know. You said you probably aren't getting much of 3, 4.
Yeah, I used to have an Oura ring.
Yeah.
And I would get about 17 minutes of deep sleep a night.
Okay.
My wife gets like 2 hours.
Okay, so you're getting about 17. So do you want me to share what the research is saying, what you should be getting? Okay, so what the research shows is you should be getting about 25% of your overall night's sleep in deep sleep. So for about every 8 hours, 17 minutes, you should be getting about 2. You should be getting about, about what you're sleeping. So if you're sleeping 8 hours, you want at least an hour and a half, 2 hours to be deep. I don't know how I feel about things like smartwatches and always having technology strapped onto your body. But you know what I do recommend for clients, and I do for myself? I want to get data. So I would be willing to strap it on or ask a client to strap it on for me for 1 month and send me the printout, because the Apple Watch will show stage 1, 2, 3, 4 REM. And so I can get a baseline, and then I can do my work and I can see if I can fix it and get more deep sleep. So short term, I believe in these smartwatch things that give us data. I love data. But how much should you take? So we know we need omega-3s to sleep better, and then hopefully we're less stressed during the day. both Canada and European experts agree you can take up to 5,000 mgs, but they also say at a nice minimum, get about 500 mgs of EPA and DHA. So minimum daily dose. My thumbs up for you to remember. But I want you guys to get really good and become detectives for your own health now that you know you need more EPA and DHA in your life. And I want you to think about looking at labels and making sure you choose a good quality fish oil, okay? You know I've taught you need EPA and DHA because up to 65% of us probably aren't converting plant-based EFAs like ALA from flax and chia and hemp into EPA and DHA. So if we want to get better sleep and affect brain detox, we need EPA and DHA. So you want to look at a label and you want to make sure it's got both EPA and DHA in it. And the other thing you need to look for is the non-medicinal ingredients. You don't want to see extra sugar. That's going to make you stress more and stay awake all night. So you don't want to see nasty things in there. And you also want to look at serving size because I often have clients come to me and they're so happy and they're like, I found this great deal on fish oil from a big box store and it was so cheap. But then they're coming to me for a serious brain condition. And when I look at the research to see the dose they need, I'm like, I'm so sorry. This cheap supplement is actually so expensive because you need 15 to 20 capsules a day. And they're like, what? Cool, my $10 supplement just became 10 bucks a day. So you want to look for serving size that's 1 or 2 to meet a clinically effective, like a high dose. Please. Yeah, so I talked to the company. Yeah, so I'm actually the scientific advisor for the company that distributes this. So I get a little behind the scenes knowledge, which is really nice. And I have access to these brands and to their scientists. And I asked them, like, what is natural flavor? Because the word natural is not regulated and it can be nasty and synthetic and perfume. And they assured me it is essential oil. So that's what they said. It is essential oil of the fruit. And we've got some nice flavors in this next brand that I'm going to introduce you to of lemon or strawberry or orange. So they said it's essential oils. So if you want to take an omega-3 and you want to try Nordic Naturals, which is the brand I work with our clients, because I get to see the behind the scenes science and cleanliness and make sure that they're clean. So I can recommend this and stand behind it. They've got 4 different omega-3s available here to choose from. A liquid, a capsule, an omega-3 plus vitamin D. When do you think you might need that one versus your basic EPA and DHA? When would you also need the D? Yep, winter, when we are more vitamin D deficient as sunlight falls. When else would you maybe think, like, I'm gonna pick up that one. Vitamin D is important for bones. If you are at risk of osteoporosis, or you have it, so yep, vitamin D. If you have hypothyroid, vitamin D is essential to build your thyroid hormones, to help you with energy, to help you with weight maintenance. Thyroid does everything, so vitamin D. And if you're vegan, plant-based, or have a fish allergy, there's a beautiful algae product as well. Omega-3, so fish oil, omega-3 fish oil is naturally higher in EPA. Higher EPA, in a nutshell, higher EPA is great not only for stress and sleep, but conditions like depression and anxiety. So mood is higher EPA like a fish oil. There's these 2 products that I work with a lot with my clients, which are called Ultimate Omega. They're much higher doses. So this would be for any of you, if your doctor has maybe already told you you need a very, very high dose of EPA because you do have a mental health condition or some other cardiovascular issue, for example, I would put you on one of these. I put a ton of my clients on 2X. That's the strongest one. Yes, of course. Thank you for asking. Yes, of course. Nordic Naturals takes great pride in their sourcing and their sustainability. They take great efforts in bycatch prevention to make sure that nothing else, no other animals outside of the intended fish are caught in their nets. For their fish oil, they use sardines, mackerel, anchovy, and herring, all sustainably sourced from the Pacific Oceans around Peru and Morocco. I believe. So very, very nice. And then last but not least, you may choose an Arctic cod liver oil. Does anyone know the difference between a fish oil and a cod liver oil? They're quite different. You don't know? But you're learned. You're like our learned one of the night. You're like up here with me. Okay. So guys, cod liver oil is higher in DHA. Fish oil is higher in EPA for mood. Cod liver oil is higher in DHA to help you after a brain injury, to help your brain age better, or if you're starting to notice cognitive decline, memory impairment, higher DHA. So very different, even though they're together. And most of my clients are like, I had no clue. I just grabbed one because I thought it was fish. So Arctic cod liver oil comes from Arctic cod, sourced sustainably above the Arctic Circle in the Lofoten Islands around Norway. My dream, I want to go. I'm like, can this brand like bring me out? It's so beautiful. It's like pristine. So that's where the cod comes from. Cod liver oil is very different than fish oil. So learn something new.
Fish oil, salmon, and you mentioned like anchovies and a bunch of other things.
Yes, fish oil. Fish oil can come from all different things, but from this company called Nordic Natural, it's sardine, anchovy, mackerel or herring, but primarily sardine and anchovy in these ones that you have here at Health Essentials. So okay, I want to be clear, is both fish oil and cod liver oil have both. Both are important, but fish oil is higher EPA and cod liver oil is higher DHA, but both have both. Both are important. You should take both. Every fish oil, every product should have both. Yeah. For example, so just like I took this was one of their labels. It'll have both. But notice this one's a fish oil this is the Latin names for sardine and anchovy, but it'll have both. But because it's a fish oil, it's higher in EPA. If I was showing you a label, and we can look tonight, if anyone's interested, we can look and have some fun after, cod liver oil will be higher in the DHA. So it does different things in the brain and the body. Yeah. Heart disease and cardiovascular clients need both too. Yeah. Yeah. And just last but not least, as we wrap up our training, because we're coming on an hour here, exactly, woohoo, why I like to work with Nordic Natural. So I made this cute slide for you. They offer a lot of different products for every stage. And I didn't talk about a lot of them, but they do prenatal, baby products all the way through adolescence and adulthood and aging. As a scientist, this means a lot to me. They have 58 published papers on the efficacy of their products, including 38 studies in humans, human clinical trials. Women? Yeah, I know. I'm only going to support a company that looks at women. We deserve it. And then they also use a very superior format that you'll see on their labels called a triglyceride form that is shown to be 70% better absorbed by the body. So love this brand. And then last but not least, because nasty fish burps aren't fun, it's embarrassing, it may make you not want to take your supplement. Because Nordic Naturals uses a really cool process, they make their own nitrogen at their facility and they flush all their bottles with nitrogen. No oxygen is ever introduced into any of their products until the customer gets home and opens their bottle. So there's no oxygen, meaning no rancidity. A sign of a rancid fish oil you might think is normal. Clients are like, isn't it normal that my fish oil supplement smells nasty and makes me belch? No, that's a sign of rancidity. It shouldn't taste bad. I don't know if we're sampling today. Are we sampling anything? It'll be so cool. There shouldn't be a nasty fishy smell to a fish oil. Take that back. If it is, that's rancid. The liquid should. Yeah, so you can choose what you think you'll be more compliant with. The fish oil needs to be refrigerated and please consume within a month, okay, for best results. The capsule, you're fine. The capsule, you're fine. But I also want to say, budget. Even though this is more annoying because it needs to be in the fridge, this is 48 servings per bottle versus only 30. So this is more bang for your buck. It's just annoying. You can't throw this one into your purse and take it to go. So different. And then last but not least, I promise, and then we can move into question. This is really cool. And I have not seen many other companies do this. It's called the Certificate of Analysis. every company to sell in Canada and globally, I'm sure, but I work with Health Canada, so I get what they're doing, requires a certificate of analysis that they read through, and they make sure that you're clean and you don't have heavy metals and you don't have nasty plastics and plasticiders. So they look through this. Me, being a scientific advisor for the company that brings in these products, I'm also privy to this information. I can look, but most companies don't let the public look. Nordic Natural says, bring it on. On every bottle, you can look at the lot number and you can go to their website and type it in, and they share their certificate of analysis with all of us. This confirms that there is no radiation, that there is no heavy metals. They also show you something called the TOTOX value that looks at the free radical fighting ability of their fish oil. And it also confirms, because I like to have peace of mind knowing that the amount of EPA and DHA on the bottle is actually what the third-party researchers found. So it confirms the dose on the bottle. So I love that they provide this. Okay, and I promise last slide is key takeaways. Stress and sleep issues are very connected, and there is a neuronutritional connection. And I work with a lot of different things with a lot of different clients, but 4 key pillars that we explored tonight were things like protein, right? Really important. A good quality multi for some of you, some digestive enzyme support, and last but not least, some brain detox or glymphatic support. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for bearing with us for that little hiccup at the beginning, but we stayed calm. We're going to sleep well tonight. And thank you for listening to me for the last exact hour. Thank you so much.